Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world in the United States of America or down the street. It's your Acts 10 guy. I am back, and you got a different format, and this will tell you, give you an indication of where we're going. I decided to take a little break and sort of explain why I'm doing all this. So rather than go verse by verse through the text, it's like we're going to stop here, which I think we're right before 17, and just give like a bunch of illustrations and testimonies and things of that nature to let you know why I think all this family ministry, Acts 10, Cornelius, why do I think it's so important? So I just thought of this right before I was going to do the video this evening, and I was out here, and this is my carpentry shop. It's used to be an old horse barn, as you can see behind me. And there's these trees, I have these pine stumps right next to, and this is sitting on a table that my table saw is in front of. So I'm like, wow, I'll just sit on the stump. So I'm dressed for just some illustrations. It's not verse by verse day, so I'm in the barn. All right, new scenery for you. How you like that? Good homesteading video too. All right, amen. So why am I doing this? Well, what's the point of being Cornelius, being family ministry oriented, teaching your own children, learning how to do stuff and grow your own food, this whole lifestyle thing? Why does it matter? Well, I had something that hit me. One of the guys I talk about, and I'm going to use both these guys as an illustration, that I've talked about a couple times, is John MacArthur. Another one that I reread one of his books, big family ministry, family church kind of guy. I don't want to call him a pioneer, it's not the right word, but an advocate, was Voddie Baucham Jr. Okay, so I want to use these two guys. And the reason I'm doing this is John apparently recently had some heart issues. And for the first time in a while, he had somebody else preach the second of his services. It was very rare. And so I found a video where when he came back, he started talking about what it would be like if he's not here anymore. So this is what I'm going to say. I often said to people that are just waiting on even good teachers to feed them, to give them the next book, the next sermon series, that we don't have very many of them left. Mr. Baucham, I believe, is still teaching a seminary on the continent of Africa. I don't know which country. And John is now 83. So I jokingly said, you're one breath away from John MacArthur from having almost next to nobody here in the United States of America, and I don't think I'm overstating that to a large degree. So I'm using these two guys because they're good teachers. So, and if we're entering into that you don't have as many of them, you're going to have to get busy being Cornelius pretty fast. We know what's happening with the SBC, with the Rick Warren situation. All I'm going to say is I've never been a fan of the guy. We'll just leave it at that. This isn't a Yell at Heretics video. So I just told you what I think of him. But I'm not a big fan of these guys. So what's the illustration to where are we supposed to be as fathers? What's it look like? So I'm going to use these same two guys and give you an illustration. I want you to imagine that fictitious scenario, I get a phone call, an email, or something from these two guys. They're out at Grace Community, and they said, hey, Derek, we ran into one of your videos, just astounded by it. Would you like to come out and speak? Now, obviously, that invitation would get me and my family very excited. And that's a good thing. That's not bad. It is like, wow. Yes, I'd love to come out. I'd be nervous, excited, all that thing which comes from well-respected Bible teachers noticing something that you're doing and saying, hey, I'd like to bring that in. Well, that's good. But I think what's happened is we've erred the wrong way. So you don't want to get to the point, and I think we're there, where if you met John and Vadi, that you would get your kids dressed up real nice, put your suit on, have your pen and book in hand so you could get an autograph and a photo op. That's bad. That's not, as a matter of fact, I guarantee you that's not what John and Vodi want anyway. You would probably break their heart. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy wants an autograph. What is this saying about now what are you saying in front of your children? That, this guy is more important than dad. So you are actually probably burdening the heart of Mr. MacArthur and Mr. Bauckham if you walked up to him and saying, boy, I really like a picture. So that's important. Because you know what the other simile terms for father used to be before we had to have leaders like John and Vodi, so to speak, basically because guys like me weren't awake yet. It's like Grace to You Ministries was very aptly named. Hey, I need to give grace to you. I'd rather you be taking this by the reins by yourself, but you're not, and I'm trying to get you there. And right now, I'm saying that there may not be much time for this particular guy to keep trying to get you there. You better get there now, okay? You can make an idol out of a good person. You absolutely can. Your wife can make an idol out of her husband, even though she's supposed to honor him. You can take things too far, and I think we have. So another scenario, what would make me thrilled about, what would I want to do if I got this fictitious invite? You know what? I would want to talk Bible with these guys. And you know what? As a man, if I had an issue or I thought maybe I was right and they were wrong, I'd want to win. And I'd expect to win. That's not wrong either. I'm not chopped liver around here. I'm a dad too. Do you know those other names that used to be father that I was about to bring up? Do you know what the similes for that term? They used to be master, ruler, governor, and king. Yeah, we don't use those anymore. So this having a desire to unpack the text with people that I respect would have been normal years ago. Now it's abnormal. It's like, how dare you? You should just bow down and get the photo op and the signed book. I'm reiterating, I guarantee you these guys don't want that. If you take on this mantra of being a father and learning how to do stuff you didn't know how to do because you need to fix stuff around your house and learn to grow things and build things and teach things and read things, you learn that it is extremely difficult. And when another man that is attempting to do that is walking alongside, there's nothing but mutual respect going on. You are just thrilled to have that guy around. You just like, dude, me and you, we're tight. It's the guy you don't want to get off the phone with. It's the guy you want to come out here and do a project and hang out because you don't meet many. And that's what the body of Christ is supposed to be like. It's not insulting to say that I should be able to be a theologian in my own home and be able to teach to the degree that I could add something to guys that have added a lot to me. So considering that situation with Mr. MacArthur, I'm also bringing this up because my wife, who's I don't want to say more spiritual, but she's less of a nuts and bolts pragmatist, so to speak. Well, that's a good way of saying it, because I don't want to say I'm not spiritual, because that's not true. But she always talks about her grandfather, and that at one point, it's like that Grandpa knew when his time was. And told a story where I think one of the kids came up to him and said, "Hey, Grandpa, I'll see you in a couple weeks." And he said, "No, you won't. I won't be here." And he was right. He wasn't. So am I saying John's knowing? I don't know. But it could be. Okay? So let me tell you the downside of what I think Mr. Bauckham has led. So I have to talk about this. This is the little bit discouraging part of the video. Because the previous stuff, I'd like to admonish you. This is liberty. You're going to have a better life, living the way that you need to live to be Cornelius. It's better relationships with everybody. There is a downside. Because of a lot of false teachers, I told you I wasn't going to get down the road, but there's a ton. And it's it's all the way blown in to even good conservative churches. Can I tell you what Mr. Bauckham has probably unwittingly created in this movement of us homeschooling type folks? Guys like me are almost a pariah in the church now. And I hate saying that. But I've had to say things in front of my pastors that I didn't think I'd have to say. So here's where I want to bring in a nugget about my family that I don't talk about, but I need to because this is a part of it. My wife is melanated, okay? If you don't know what that means, get a copy of Webster's 1828 dictionary and look it up, okay? For those of you who don't, it means a lot darker than I am. All right, there you go. So you can figure out how much darker. I don't care, but it does matter to the world. And we have a lot of children, 7. I think I've mentioned that in a previous video. So it's getting to the point where I've actually had to voice this once to an actual pastor and say, sir, my children are not here to double your children's ministry numbers. My wife is not a diversity prop, and you need to talk to me. And I'm going to tell you, the one thing that if you want to really have false teachers run for the hills, you be Cornelius. Because the one guy they don't want to deal with is this guy. Oh man, well, look at your wife's so pretty. She's so peaceful and loving, and look at the kiddos. And it's creepy, like they're getting out of a white van with a sucker. No, stay away from my kids. You're not their dad. And so I now have to say this. I now have to say, hey, you do know you have to talk to me. And I'm going to tell you, when it gets bad, and it is, that's the one thing they hate. They want God's means of communicating to the world to be communicate to the world and to the family unit to be anybody but Father. They want anything. Now you can be a dad, but it's like, here's the rules. You need 2 kids, 2 dogs, and you're sending your kids to the public school. Pastor's going to tell them their theology, and your celebrities are going to give them their entertainment. You are not the end all. The conduit to get what these children need is not going to be you. And it's in the church now. It's amazing to me how offensive this is to some people. I'm just trying to make your life better. You know the other thing that's encouraging about, well, let me finish up the discouraging part, and then I'll end with something encouraging, because I need to fully unpack this, so to speak, or just make sure I communicate what I'm trying to communicate. But at the end of the day, false teachers and liberal politicians are almost exactly the same. They are doing a dog and pony show, largely about race, pretending to like the mess out of people that are darker than you, and then going through this thing where they just love your children even more than you do. And when you become Mr. Homestead family guy, you're not buying it anymore. Especially the whole race thing. On a side note, do you know black people are kind of in tune to this? They know when you're full of it. I'm being serious, Brothers are pretty smart, They've got a ton of discernment, and they know who's full of it. They got a BS detector. And so they may be nice to all you little liberal yahoos, but they don't believe a word you're saying. So you might just want to stop it. I know they're not. So it's bad. So I want to end with something good. You need some good news at the end of this video. So what does family ministry and being husband, father, what's the benefit? Can I tell you something? Give you the bad news before the good news. Before probably 5 years ago, me and my wife's marriage stunk. And it was because over the years, my wife was a zero-sum lady. She wanted a husband. She didn't want a three-quarter one, half one, a quarter. A husband. So when I wasn't living up to that, she would get mad at me. So I learned that once I weathered the storm and became a husband, she actually texts me and tells me she's proud of me and has done it on multiple occasions. It's amazing if wife wants a husband and you become it, she quits yelling at you. So let's end that on a good note. That you can still do this. You can actually have a good life and not be afraid of your wife, your children thinking you don't know anything and you're a bumbling buffoon. You can have a decent life, an abundant life. So we'll just do one little application to help you out and then we'll close this out. Here's your application for the day. If you're saying, Derek, that part makes sense. I do not want an angry woman. How do I know the difference between a lady that wants a husband or a lady that's just mean? Because there are both. Well, here it is. It's real simple. When you start talking to that young lady and you start talking about child rearing, does she start talking about, I don't want any kids, or I give you one or two, and then I want 3 dogs and a career? Do yourself a favor and run away, because that girl is going to be mad at you for a while. All right? Ladies, same token. If he recoils in horror at the idea of having children, he's not going to change. You might want to let that dude go. Okay? All right, so that's why we're doing this. So no nuts and bolts, no ABC 1, 2, 3. We'll get back to that. I'll dress a little better. You like to have, I'm in the barn. I can't have a sweater on today, okay? And I'm not preaching. I'm just doing a big giant illustration. So I thought, in the barn in front of the nail guns. Kind of manly too. Rah. Is that okay? Am I allowed to fix things still? I don't know. You might not be able to do that. Maybe that's offensive. Sorry. You act like I care if it's offensive. Anyway, I hope as always, I hope I said something to hit you in the head, hit you in the heart. And until next time, you be of good cheer and you be of good courage.